Good morning, welcome to a morning outlook. It could be a quieter one today, well more likely in the afternoon. We've got Veterans Day in Canada and the USA, so the volumes this afternoon probably won't be anywhere near normal. But there's also no significant news until 7:30 p.m. when we've got an FOMC speaker speaking. So little out there today to rock the markets, he says, but of course we've got the weekend and we've had the Brexit negotiations and talks going through, and it would appear that the UK cabinet isn't necessarily behind Theresa May at the moment, and it's not looking good at all. So it looks like there may even be resignations, which could set to unsettle things even more. But where are we at the moment? Well, euro dollar, it's broken. I've brought this weekly chart up. It's important. It's broken out of the weekly of this weekly trend. It's broken. I say trend, weekly 200 and the lows there. So it's broken that through the Asian session. And as you can see from the dailies here, it's in a pretty strong sell point at the moment. Now we've got to this situation. Are we going to see a bounce this morning? It's possible. We do have weekly and daily pivots above us, which always could be a draw. It may have just got a bit oversold here, but I think the jitters around Brexit are not helping the case, and with little else news in the way of news, it's left on its own devices at the moment, and it's almost a preference to sell into any rallies as opposed to try and trade back to the weekly or dailies. So that's where we are at the moment. The pound, it's just come out a step here. Well, you can see the gap, but it's on the weeklies there, it's gapped down. It's looking like it might even accelerate from where it is at the moment, looking very iffy to say the least. And again, looking at every time frame here, okay, weekly and daily pivots are sitting above us, but for now it looks like a retrace, a sell into any significant retrace. I mean, like a decent retrace to sell in to get some points, but may just not get there. Looking for something like even maybe the hourly 8, hourly 21 would be ideal, but I know it's a long way at the moment, but it'll soon catch up, don't worry. So really looking, as I say, pretty bearish at the moment, unless something really significant in the way of news turns it round. Dollar yen, seen some weak numbers out through the Asian session here. Again, it's already taken a pitch to the upside. It's dollar strength across the board effectively. No, there's nothing good news against it. It's pushing up towards, well, the monthly R1 sort of territory. Those double tops would be a sort of target we may be seeing the yen hit in the next day or so. Again, it's got pivots below which could draw it, but unless we see something that's significantly weakening in the US dollar at the moment, any retracements may get here, the inversion be bought into. Not even seeing money run to risk here. They generally say it's not a risk type move that we're seeing. It's just purely weakness of the strength of the US dollar, effectively. Weakness of the other markets, jitters about, and good reason to be jittery about them. I'll talk about this more in the weekly outlook later. Aussie dollar's continuing its sell-off here. It did push up well, and it probably pushed ahead of a lot of the other markets here, but at the moment it's selling slowly but steadily downwards here. It's clipped its weekly pivot on its way through. That's ticked out the way. Yep, it did clip it. Didn't catch the daily today, but at the moment, again, retracements back towards that 21 would be tempted to sell into. So not a lot else there for the Aussie and the Canadian dollar. Whoops, gone into the weeklies here for good reason. Last week we did close quite a way up in the end. Been talking about it for a long time, it seems, but still looks like it's got potential to continue shoving up. The monthly R1 looks like the sort of next potential target, with these prior highs here from the July sort of time, so would be the next sort of target. However, there is a closer daily, weekly pivot, and daily pivot is not too far away. In fact, let's just bring this down. In fact, we're through the daily pivot at the moment, but the weekly pivot is not a million miles away. And there is chatter about oil at the moment. In fact, oil, with the Russians and Saudis seem to be arguing here, and there's the gap up over the through the weekend there, and we're seeing a push up at the moment as it seems that the Saudis want to cut production in the OPEC by 1 million barrels a day. So somewhere in that region, a lot anyway, significant to push the price of oil back up, which is a bit of a shame really. But anyway, that may be the saviour for the Canadian dollar for now. Okay, that's pretty much it for me. No news of any significance today, as I've said, so we're just looking there at the technicals, and it may be a better morning than afternoon in terms of movements, but you never know. We do see some half decent moves sometimes when the US markets aren't officially open. Have a great one. Bye for now.